The support ticket I'll never forget, bees. In my work, I often share spreadsheets, tools, and code. Those who examine them closely might stumble upon a peculiar hidden string of text. It's a sort of personal marker I leave everywhere, and when people inquire about it, I get to recount the tale behind it. If this story dates back to my early days as a remote support analyst, specifically at a large tech support company, I was a fledgling tier 1 technician, green around the gills, equipped with just a basic understanding of some programming and the ability to successfully install Java more often than not. The phone rang, a sound that always brought a surge of anticipation. Another user, undoubtedly facing a dire technical crisis, was reaching out to me, their designated savior, provided their issue fell within the exceedingly narrow range of problems I was trained to address. I answered with the standard greeting. "Thank you for contacting Tech Support Megacorp. This is Clickety. Could I please have your name and client identifier?" After a lengthy pause, the caller slowly provided their information. I quickly entered it into my system. The details popped up. A client located in a very isolated part of Washington state. This was a remote office, easily a 3 or 4 hour journey for the nearest field technician. If I couldn't resolve their problem remotely, they could be looking at days of downtime. I was their last line of defense. The user began, "Our computer has been running incredibly slowly." I immediately started troubleshooting. "Understood. Let me check for any processes that might be consuming resources. Do you happen to know which version of Java you're currently running? Have you recently removed or installed any software?" The answers were negative across the board. My remote session confirmed significant system lag, but I couldn't pinpoint the cause through standard diagnostics. "Well, it really started after this big storm we had." The customer rambled, recounting details about the recent severe weather, including landslides and other seemingly irrelevant local events. While they spoke, I continued digging through system data, noting the CPU was inexplicably bogged down. "And it's been quite warm in here, and the computer has a rather strange smell." That detail made me pause. "A strange smell? Have you perhaps cleaned the computer recently to remove dust buildup?" I felt quite clever, imagining the issue would be resolved with a simple vacuuming. There was an extended silence, presumably while the user accessed the computer's interior. Then suddenly loud exclamations erupted. "Ah! Oh my word! Oh no!" followed by banging sounds, "An aunt over there." A stream of frustrated words. Then quiet returned. "Sir?" I asked tentatively after a moment. "Are you still there? Is everything alright?" "No," he exclaimed loudly. "There's a hole in the wall right next to the computer. It looks like they got in after the storm. But some kind of good grief. They've built a hive." "A what?" He repeated it, clearly agitated. "So, yeah, is there any way you could send someone out here with a replacement computer or something? I know it's difficult to get service out this way." Despite the bizarre turn, I maintained professionalism and assured him I would arrange for assistance as quickly as possible. I documented the incident and dispatched the ticket. I never learned the specifics of how the situation was ultimately resolved, but I will forever remember the exact wording I used when submitting that ticket. "Computer completely filled with bees," escalating to desk-side support. That day, I absorbed a crucial lesson. Never accept a problem description at face value, and never assume you have all the necessary information, regardless of how standard the issue might appear. Pay close attention to the background details a customer provides. Some might be unexpectedly critical. And perhaps think twice before choosing a career in field support in mountainous regions. And that is precisely why, woven into every piece of code or spreadsheet I create, you will invariably find the phrase, "computer completely filled with bees." It serves as a perpetual reminder that no matter how confident or insightful I might feel, there is always the possibility of being entirely mistaken and utterly astonished by the reality of the problem. That ticket description, "computer completely filled with bees," is legendary. If you love wild stories like this, you gotta subscribe. Explaining the simplest login credentials was a Herculean task. It feels like ages since I last shared a story here. My current role is on the help desk for a local government body. Dealing with social workers in particular often feels like navigating a minefield of technical bewilderment. They are, shall we say, a consistent challenge. You develop a certain level of tolerance for the general lack of technical intuition that comes with the job. However, just when you think you've seen it all, they manage to find new ways to surprise you. Today provided one such memorable instance. Our standard operating procedure involves using a universal, generic set of login credentials for the initial access to most of our desktop computers. The design is such that users first log into the physical machine using the shared account, and from there they launch and log into our Citrix environment to access their actual workspace and applications. The username and password for this initial machine login are widely known, so widely in fact that they are literally posted on walls in various common areas. This setup is not a security risk because the generic account grants access only to the local desktop environment and the Citrix login prompt. It doesn't provide access to any internal network resources or data. To minimize hassle and confusion for the users, most of these generic accounts are configured to remain logged in indefinitely. This saves our less technically inclined colleagues from having to perform this initial login step each time they use a machine. However, sometimes a computer might restart, or a user might encounter a scenario where they need to log in from scratch. That's precisely what happened today. A call came in from a user needing the generic login details. I've altered the specific username and password here, but the conversation that unfolded is remarkably close to a word-for-word recount. Alright, the user began after our initial greetings. What's the username I need to type in? The username is computer, I stated clearly, providing the simple single word. There was a pause. Is that the asset number of the PC I'm sitting at? He asked, interpreting it as some kind of identifier. No, I corrected gently. It's just the word computer. COMPUTER, just computer, nothing else needed in that field. He seemed to ponder this, then proposed, and then I put a backslash followed by my own name. I felt my patience being tested already. No, I emphasized, trying to keep my voice even. It is solely the word computer. That is the entire username, just computer. He finally seemed to grasp the username concept, or so I hoped. Okay, and what is the password for that? The password is P4SS word, I explained, breaking it down. It's like the word password, but you start with a capital P, and instead of the letter A, you use the number 4. He repeated back, confirming his understanding. Okay, so it's password 4? My internal monologue screamed no, I reiterated, trying a different approach. It is not password 4, let me spell it out. Capital P, the number 4, then lowercases, lowercases, lowercase w, lowercase o, lowercase r, lowercase d, P4SSWORD, P4SS word. I could hear typing sounds from his end. Okay, so the username is computer P4SS. What's the password, Komayu? He asked, somehow merging the username and password fields in his mind. No, I exclaimed, the frustration finally showing a little. The username which goes in the first box is computer. The password which goes in the second box is P4SS word. 2 distinct things, 2 boxes, 2 words, that's all. More typing followed by a click. It didn't work, he reported, sounding genuinely confused. I typed in password, but it said it's incorrect. Alright, I said, speaking very slowly and deliberately now, just in case there was any issue with clarity. Could you please spell out exactly what you typed for the password field? He sounded it out, to PASSWORD. I sighed internally again, deeply this time. As I explained, I said, drawing out each syllable, it is a capital P, the number 4, then lowercase SSWORD, P4SSWORD. More typing, another click. Nope, still didn't work, he stated, sounding exasperated himself. And now it says the account is locked. I definitely used a capital P this time. I made one last verbal attempt. Okay, when you typed it this time, did you remember to use the number 4 instead of the letter A? His response was delivered with an air of complete bewilderment that perfectly encapsulated the call. Use 4 what? At that point, recognizing that verbal instruction was proving utterly ineffective, I initiated a remote support session to his machine. I connected, navigated to the local login screen, and simply typed computer into the username field and P4S into the password field. It logged in instantly. As expected, his parting comment before I disconnected was a complaint that our computer systems were unnecessarily complicated. Our website's official browser list included software that had been discontinued. This situation occurred at the same company and involved the same website I've mentioned in previous stories. We had a website catering to several thousand paying customers who subscribed for roughly $200 annually. The primary users were pastors who utilized the platform to download materials for their church services. Our official documentation listed the following as the only supported browsers. Keep in mind, this was likely around the 2006 timeframe. Dar Internet Explorer for Windows. The Internet Explorer for Mac. If you're unfamiliar with Internet Explorer for Mac, consider yourself fortunate. At this point in time, Google Chrome didn't exist yet, and Firefox was either non-existent or in its very nascent, less than polished stages. Then a significant event occurred. Microsoft effectively killed off IE for Mac. This wasn't just a matter of ceasing development, they actively removed download links and basically wiped its existence from their official channels. If you didn't already possess a copy, acquiring one became nearly impossible. While there might have been obscure abandonware sites later, they weren't readily known or accessible to me back then. Despite this reality, our company's official support policy for Mac users remained stubbornly unchanged. IE only. A customer called in one day. "Hello, I'm encountering some issues using your website," he stated. "Certainly," I replied. "Could you please tell me which web browser you are currently using?" "I'm using Safari," he answered. My internal alarm bells went off. I responded, somewhat strained. "Unfortunately, we do not officially support the Safari browser. You will need to access the site using Internet Explorer." He sounded confused. "Oh, okay, how do I go about getting that?" Here came the difficult part. "You can't," I said plainly. A pause. Excuse me? "Our policy states we only support Internet Explorer on Macs," I reiterated. "If you happen to have a Windows computer available, you could use Internet Explorer on that. Otherwise, for your Mac, you would need Internet Explorer." The customer clarified, "Alright, this is my only computer, so how exactly do I obtain Internet Explorer for it?" "You cannot," I repeated, the absurdity of the situation heavy in my voice. "Microsoft has discontinued it. It is no longer produced or available for download anywhere official." He processed this for a moment. "So let me understand this. How am I supposed to use the website that I'm currently paying a yearly fee for?" Based on our official support policy, I stated, feeling increasingly ridiculous, "You can't." There was a silence on the line, thick with disbelief. Do you not perceive a problem with this situation?" He finally asked. I decided to pursue an unconventional path. "Okay, look," I said, lowering my voice slightly. "Maybe we can work together on this. Frankly, we absolutely should be supporting Safari, but for reasons beyond my control, we don't, and there's currently no other way for you to access the site on your Mac according to the rules. If you are willing, could you please compose an email to us? Please be as direct and express as much frustration as possible. Feel free to use strong language, threaten to cancel your subscription, perhaps even mention legal action, whatever feels appropriate to convey your dissatisfaction. I promise to take that email directly to the relevant management and attempt to force this issue to be resolved for you." The customer sounded taken aback. "You want me to swear?" he asked. "I'm a pastor." I understand," I replied. "But look, it's Thursday afternoon. Getting this specific policy updated and the website fixed before Sunday services isn't going to be a simple or quick process through standard channels. A strongly worded complaint might just be the catalyst we need." He chuckled slightly. "I'm sure God will understand," he conceded. True to his word, I received an email from him shortly after. It contained everything I had asked for. A passionate account of his inability to access the site, expressing deep frustration that our policy was hindering his ability to prepare and deliver his sermon, essentially preventing him from performing his pastoral duties. Mercifully, he didn't include any complaints about me, Cao Yi, personally. I took this email directly to the web development team, specifically to the same developer I'd worked with on previous issues. "Hey," I said, approaching the developer, "got a ticket about the website not working for a Mac user." "What's the specific issue?" the developer asked. I described the problem the customer was experiencing. The exact technical glitch is fuzzy now, but it was preventing access. The developer looked skeptical. I'm pretty sure it works fine," he said, opening Safari on his own Mac and navigating to the site. He tested the function the customer needed and it worked perfectly. "Wait a minute," I interjected, surprised. "We don't officially support Safari." The developer rolled his eyes. "I know," he admitted, "but it works great. It's what I use personally all the time. It's much faster than IE ever was on a Mac. The problem is, Minata, mentioning the VP of a relevant department won't approve the minimal amount of time, the matter probably 30 minutes tops. It would take me to make the necessary tweaks to officially support the current version of Safari. I just haven't updated my own browser version so I can keep using it. Fortunately, I had recently assisted that very VP with a peculiar computer issue, and he had been exceedingly grateful for my help. Seizing the opportunity, I walked over to his office. It was late Thursday afternoon, maybe 3 p.m., and our office closed at 4 p.m. "Excuse me for interrupting, but I think you need to see this," I said, handing him the pastor's email. He read the email, his eyes widening as he absorbed the content. "This is from one of our paying customers?" that he asked, clearly taken aback. "Yes," I confirmed. He was trying to finalize his sermon for Sunday and couldn't access the necessary materials because I didn't even get to finish my sentence before the VP was on the phone calling the developer's manager. The urgency was palpable. By 4:45 p.m. that day, the website was officially updated to support Safari. I immediately called the pastor back to deliver the good news that he could now access the site and complete his sermon preparation. I like to believe that in this particular instance, God did indeed understand the need for a slightly unconventional approach to customer service. The day I unleashed the full wrath of IT policy. This particular incident stands out as the moment I decided the standard customer service script needed a temporary override. "IT, this is my name. How can I help?" I answered the call, expecting a typical password reset or printer issue. The user on the other end stated, "Dalton, hi, I need assistance." Standard start. "Okay, what seems to be the problem today?" I inquired, and then came the curveball. "I need you to incubate something on my computer." My brain momentarily froze. Incubate? What in the actual sound? Trying to make sense of it, I asked, "Could you please explain what you mean by incubate?" The user's tone immediately shifted. "Look, if you're not capable of helping, can you just transfer me to a senior technician?" Oh, the entitlement. I took a breath. It's not that I can't help, I calmly explained. It's that I need more specific information about the issue you're facing before I can provide assistance. He insisted. "It's straightforward. There's something on my machine, and you need to place it into incubation for me." I tried a different angle. "Alright, can you tell me what type of file or program this is something is?" "I don't know what it is," he replied, sounding frustrated. "I can't do anything with it myself because the program requires administrator privileges, which is why I contacted you." I started suspecting the cause. "Did you recently download a file from the internet or perhaps visit a questionable website?" He bristled. "I don't need a third degree here. I just need you to get this thing incubated and then we can both get on with our day." I decided to guide him through a basic step. "Okay, if you would right-click on the green shield icon located in the bottom right corner of your screen and select Scan Now, it will perform a check for anything harmful and we can assess the results from there." While saying this, I had already pulled up the user's machine in our antivirus console to monitor. "I can't interact with that," he snapped back. When I click it, a message pops up saying, "Please contact the network administrator to access," or something similar. "Sir," I stated patiently, "I need you to right-click on the icon, not left-click." "I know what I'm doing. It clearly states I can't," he yelled into the phone. "Right. Clearly, I need to initiate the dealing with willfully ignorant users protocol." I spotted something on my screen related to his activity and caught my manager's eye, gesturing subtly. "There is no need to raise your voice," I said, keeping my voice level. "I am genuinely attempting to assist you with your problem." He reverted to his original demand, "But it's simple. I just require your admin rights so I can move something into incubation. It's not difficult." At this point, seeing the information on my console and witnessing his resistance to basic instructions, I made a decision. "Alright," I said, my tone shifting to something more formal. "I will initiate a remote session and examine the situation directly. Please locate the remote assistance icon on your desktop and double-click it." "Finally," he exclaimed, sounding relieved and triumphant. "You're finally gonna do what I requested from the very beginning." Oh, you have no idea what's coming. I connected to his machine. Initiating phase 2, full system overload. I began speaking, my voice calm but firm and deliberate. "First, let's correct your terminology. There is no function or concept called incubation or incubator on your computer in the context of security software. The correct term you are looking for is quarantine. You seem to believe you have either downloaded a harmful file or navigated to a malicious website resulting in malware or potentially worse. This kind of infection does not simply appear on its own. You are equipped with the necessary tools to diagnose and ideally remove such infections yourself. You have a mouse with 2 buttons, and one on the left, one on the right, yet you are refusing to utilize the correct button in the correct location as instructed. I have now taken control of your machine and am currently running a comprehensive scan for the issue you are experiencing. Furthermore, I can see clearly from the web pages currently open on your screen that you have been attempting to access multiple torrent sharing websites. These sites are notorious sources of malicious advertisements and harmful links specifically engineered to deceive or trap users into visiting illicit locations or downloading questionable and often infected files. By accessing these sites on company property and using company resources, you are in clear violation of our company's acceptable use policy regarding the use of IT assets for questionable and potentially illegal activities. This entire interaction, including your online activity, is being logged and will be formally reported. The scan I initiated has now finished and has detected and removed 5 distinct infections. Additionally, I can see from the central IT monitoring console that your system has automatically blocked and successfully defended against dozens of attempted threats and attacks just today, indicating this is not an isolated or recent incident for you. The user was speechless. Quote, "What?" was all he managed to utter. "I am now going to escalate this matter," I continued, not breaking stride, "to the IT manager, who has been monitoring this call and wishes to speak with you directly." Click. I ended the call and briefed my manager, who had indeed been listening in and observing the user's screen activity via the console. The user was summoned for an immediate meeting with HR and the IT manager. I understand they were strongly encouraged to seek alternative employment very quickly. The IT manager conducted a more thorough review of the user's network activity, confirming extensive policy violations beyond just the torrent sites. The user reportedly attempted to pursue legal action against the company for wrongful termination. The reason cited for the lawsuit? Unfair invasion of privacy regarding the monitoring of their computer activity. The IT manager's reaction upon hearing this was, understandably, a hearty burst of laughter. Incubate, he thought it was a daycare for malware. What's the craziest tech term a user has used with you? Knows PING, can't delete email. I'm certainly not a professional IT technician, but within my family circle, I've become the de facto support person. So it wasn't unusual to receive a call from my grandfather, who was 89 years old, needing help with a brand new Windows 10 laptop he had just acquired. He needed assistance getting it set up. Now, it's important to understand my grandfather's typical approach to technology. He's the type of individual who is quick to assign blame to the machine itself if he accidentally clicks the wrong button or encounters an unexpected result. Given this history, I fully anticipated that this wouldn't be a simple issue resolvable over the phone. I mentally prepared for a visit, expecting to find the laptop still sealed in its original packaging. My expectations were completely subverted upon my arrival. When I reached his house, I discovered him already seated at the laptop, the Windows desktop fully loaded. He had, against all my assumptions and without any assistance, successfully completed the entire Windows installation process on his own. He was casually waiting for me, visibly engaged in a game of Minesweeper. As he greeted me, he performed an action that immediately threw me off balance. He pressed the Alt and F4 keys simultaneously to close the Minesweeper window. He then informed me that he was having trouble connecting to the internet. Still reeling from the unexpected display of keyboard shortcuts, I asked him to demonstrate the problem. I wasn't sure what technical hurdles he might have encountered in the week since I last saw him. What happened next left me utterly dumbfounded. He proceeded to open the command prompt application. He then typed a command and executed it. The command he entered was ping, followed by his own cell phone number. After the command ran, he pointed at the resulting output, specifically the line indicating 0 packets received, to illustrate that he had no internet connection. At this precise moment, I honestly believe I would have been less surprised if a small alien spacecraft had landed in his living room. The sheer contrast between this action, knowing how to open CMD and use the ping command, and his typical struggles with basic computer functions was staggering. After recovering from my shock, I calmly explained that to connect to his home Wi-Fi network, he simply needed to select the network name and enter the correct password when prompted. Once connected, the internet issue was resolved. Still in a state of bewildered astonishment, he then posed his next question. How could he access his email account again? The man who could use command line tools was asking for help with something as fundamental as checking email. Completely flabbergasted by this juxtaposition of skills, I proceeded to show him how to open his email client, Outlook. I then demonstrated the very basic task of deleting messages from his inbox. Perhaps the most incredible part of this entire experience came when I finally managed to ask him, "Grandpa, how on earth did you know how to open the command prompt and use the ping command?" His answer was delivered with complete nonchalance. "Oh, I learned it from your grandma." Following this revelation, I later inquired with my grandmother about this. Unfortunately, she has no recollection whatsoever of teaching him anything related to the command line or networking diagnostics. To this day, the true source of his unexpected advanced technical knowledge, contrasted with his struggles with everyday computing tasks, remains a complete and baffling mystery. It seems some technical skills are acquired through channels unknown even to the supposed teacher. He can ping his phone number, but needs help deleting email? Only in r/talesfromtechsupport. Hope you enjoyed these stories. Smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.